Hello there and welcome back to the So You Picked series, Job Edition, where we look into how and where to get your jobstone, your toolkit, and how it all fits together. Now today we are with Leah and we are going to be diving back into Summoner since in 6.0 they revamped the job quite substantially, so my old guide is now obsolete. Now this guide will be starting at level 30, so if you're just starting off an Arcanist, my guide for that is up already, and you can find that in the card above. Right, Leah, you ready to head out? Leah? Leah? Yes, I know, the music's good here, the music's good. I don't blame you for dancing. Alright then, let's go. Let's go, Leah. Now, first things first. To unlock the Summoner Jobstone, you will need to have done the following things. Firstly, you will need to be level 30 in your starter class, in this case Arcanist. Secondly, you'll need to be past the main story quest called Self-Management. A lot of people forget about that one. And lastly, you will need to have done all of the class quests up to level 30, and that last level 30 class quest will send you to your Jobstone giver and ultimately your Jobstone itself. Now, the Arcanist has access to 2 job unlock quests. One for Summoner, which keeps it as a DPS, and one for Scholar, which will change you into a healer with a completely different toolkit. Now, it's worth unlocking them both because they do share experience points, so a level 30 Summoner also has access to a level 30 Scholar, provided that you have the Scholar Jobstone unlocked. Now, essentially, works out to be a free job leveled, whichever way you decide to go, Summoner or Scholar. However, for the sake of this guide, we're going to be focusing on the Summoner side of things, so we're going to be picking up this quest, and that will lead you to see Imitra over here in Orgridania. Now, finish her quest and you will be the proud owner of your Summoner Jobstone and your first job ability. Now, once you have your Jobstone, you will need to equip it by going down into the character menu, like so. And then all the way down in the bottom right hand corner, you will find the Soul Crystal slot. Now, click on that and equip the Soul of the Summoner. And congratulations, you're now officially a Summoner with a messed up hotbar. Now you can either fix it manually by dropping skills back on, but if you want to sort it out quickly, I would suggest using these text commands that I'm putting up on the screen right now. And what those will do, those will copy your Arcanist hotbar over to your Summoner one, making it nice and straightforward. Now this is where we're going to split it up a little bit, because the base level 30 rotation doesn't change too much from now on. The bulk of all your new skills are mostly upgrade to existing skills that you've got. So we're going to have a look at the toolkit up to level 80, then we're going to have a quick look into rotation changes, the few rotation changes you get, and lastly we're going to dive into the 80 to 90 toolkit and how all that fits in. So if you're just interested in the 80 to 90 stuff, head here to jump straight to it. But if you're not, stick with us right now and we're going to dive straight into the toolkit. Now, onto your toolkit. So first up, at level 30, you will get Summon Ifrit. Now, Summon Ifrit is a straight up upgrade to Ruby Carbuncle, and it will make Ruby Carbuncle change into Ifrit Eggy, which is like a mini Ifrit, and you will order it to execute a move called Inferno. Now, Inferno will make your Ifrit Eggy rush the target and deal fire damage to all enemies in a cone before it, with a potency of 600 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies. Now, it keeps the additional effect of granting 2 stacks of fire attunement for use with Gem Shine and Precious Brilliance, and same as Ruby, those stacks will wear off after 30 seconds. Now next up, level 35, you will get access to Summon Titan. Now, Summon Titan you will get for completing your level 35 job quest. On a side note, in order to do that job quest, you will need to be past the main story quest called Lord of Crags. If you pass that, you'll be able to do your 35 job quests and get access to Summon Titan. Now, Summon Titan, much like Summon Ifrit is a straight up upgrade to Topaz Carbuncle, and pretty much works exactly the same as Summon Ifrit. It will change the your summon single target attack into an AoE version. Now, Titans is called Earth and Fury. Now what Earth and Fury does is will order Titan to rush forward and deal earth damage to all enemies nearby him with a potency of 600 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies. And again, like Topaz Carbuncle, it will grant you 4 stacks of Earth Attunement for use with Gem Shine and Precious Brilliance. Nice and straightforward. Now next up, level 40, you will get Pain Flare. Now Pain Flare will deal unaspect damage with a potency of 150 to your target and all enemies nearby it. And it'll cost you 1 Aetherflow Gauge Crystal. Now Pain Flare is pretty much an AoE version of Fester, so as such, you'll use Pain Flare when you have more than 3 enemies. Next up, level 45, you will get Summon Garuda. Now Summon Garuda works pretty much the same as Summon Titan. It comes from your level 45 job quest, and in order to do that job quest, you will need to be past the main story quest called Lady of the Vortex. Like the others, Summon Garuda is a straight up upgrade to Emerald Carbuncle. Now when you use Summon Garuda, you'll order it to execute a move called Aerial Blast. Now Aerial Blast will deal wind damage to your target and all enemies nearby it, with a potency of 600 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies. And like all the others, will grant 4 stacks of Wind Attunement for use with Gem Shine and Precious Brilliance. And like always, if not used, those stacks will disappear after 30 seconds. Now you'll see what I mean about your summoner skills, a lot of them being straight up upgrades to existing ones. So as such, your level 50 summoner rotation will be pretty much exactly the same, especially the single target will be exactly the same as your level 31 straight up upgrades. Now your AoE one, obviously replace Fester with Pain Flare in an AoE situation. That's really the only change in regards to your main rotation. Now straight on to the 50 to 60 stuff. Next up, at 52, you will get Energy Siphon. Now, Energy Siphon is an AoE version of Energy Drain. So as such, in an AoE situation where you have more than 3 enemies, you would use Energy Siphon and Pain Flare instead of Energy Drain and Fester. Now next up, at 54, you will get Ruin 3. Now, Ruin 3 is a straight up upgrade to Ruin 2. It will replace it automatically on your hotbar, so no need to worry about that. And that will deal unaspected damage with a potency of 310. Now next up, level 58, you will get Dreadworm Trance. Now Dreadworm Trance is a straight up upgrade to Ether Charge and will replace it on your hotbar automatically. It will last for 15 seconds, and like Ether Charge, it will grant you your Ruby, Topaz and Emerald crystals after the 15 seconds is up. But it has another cool little additional effect. For those 15 seconds, it will change Ruin 3 to Astral Impulse, and it will change Outburst, your AoE skill, to Astral Flare. Now what Astral Impulse does is will deal unaspected damage with a potency of 430 to a single target. And likewise, Astral Flare is the AoE version, so that will deal unaspected damage with a potency of 180 to your target and all enemies nearby it. Now next up, level 60, you will get Astral Flow. Now, Astral Flow is a funny one. It will grant you a special ability, but that special ability will change depending on what trance you're under and later on what summon you've just used. So at level 60, Astral Flow will only have one use for you. You will unlock more as you go on, but under Dreadworm Trance, Astral Flow will change to Death Flare. Now Death Flare will deal unaspected damage to your target and all enemies nearby it with a potency of 500 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies. Now obviously it says you can recast Death Flare every 20 seconds, however Dreadworm Trance itself only lasts for 15 seconds, so essentially you're only going to get one use of Death Flare per Dreadworm Trance window. It sounds more complicated than it actually is. And next up, at level 62, you will get Ruin 4. Now, Ruin 4 is actually separate to Ruin 3. It's a separate skill entirely. And that will deal unaspected damage to your target and all enemies nearby it, with a potency of 430 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies. Now this one's slightly different. You can only execute this while you're under the effect of Further Ruin. So it's a buff called Further Ruin. Now to get Further Ruin, you need to use Energy Siphon or Energy Drain, and that will generate 1 stack of Further Ruin to use for Ruin 4. Fairly straightforward. Use that whenever Energy Siphon is off cooldown, just all extra damage. Now next up, at level 66, you will get Searing Light. Now Searing Light is the second one of your pet abilities, which is what your base carbuncle will use. As such, you can only use Searing Light and Radiant Aegis when your base carbuncle is out. So if you've summoned Ifrit, for example, you cannot use Searing Light or Radiant Aegis. But please bear with that one in mind. Now, Searing Light itself will increase the damage dealt by yourself and nearby party members by 3%, and that buff will last for 30 seconds. So use that whenever you can on cooldown. Now next up, level 70, you will get Summon Bahamut. Now Summon Bahamut is a straight upgrade to Dreadworm Trance, so it will have all the previous goodies that Dreadworm Trance gave you, but adding on to that, it will actually summon Demi Bahamut to fight for you. It's your first big summon, and while he's out, he will be executing his own auto attack ability called Worm Wave on any enemy that you attack. He is very cool. He's a very cool one. And then the other level 70 skill you get is called Enkindle Bahamut. Now Enkindle Bahamut is ordering your Bahamut summon to execute his special ability called Akmorn. Now Akmorn will deal unaspected damage to your target and all enemies nearby it, with a potency of 1300 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies. It is quite a heavy hitting skill, definitely worth using. Now next, level 74, you will get Tri-Disaster. Now Tri-Disaster is an upgrade to Outburst. It will replace Outburst on your hotbar automatically, much like Ruin 2 and Ruin 3, and it will deal unaspect damage with a potency of 120 to your target and all enemies nearby it. And lastly, at level 80, you will get Summon Phoenix. Now Summon Phoenix will enter you into Firebird Trance and will summon a Demi Phoenix to fight by your side, much like Bahamut. And Phoenix will execute a move called Everlasting Flight as it manifests, which is a party-wide regen ability, and that will last for 15 seconds as long as Phoenix is out. And it will also use its own auto attack move called Scarlet Flame, which will attack any targets attacked by you after you've summoned them. Now it works exactly like Summon Bahamut, but it has its own skills to use. Now it will change Ruin 3 to Fountain of Fire for single target damage, and it will change Tri-Disaster to Brand of Purgatory for AoE damage. And Enkindle Bahamut will change automatically to Enkindle Phoenix once you have Phoenix summoned, which will let it use its ultimate ability called Revelation. Now Revelation will deal fire damage to your target and all enemies nearby it, with a potency of 1300 for the first enemy and 60% less for all remaining enemies, and it's pretty damn cool. And that is your toolkit up to level 80. Right guys, so we've jumped into a dungeon here for the level 80 rotation. Now as you're running through, the tank here has been pulling or starting to pull some mobs. One, make sure you've got your Carby out, but as they are running, hit them with an Energy Siphon. And then a Ruin 4. And then 2 Pain Flares. Straight into summoning Demi Bahamut. Now once you've got Demi Bahamut summoned, hit him with a Death Flare. Straight into Enkindle Bahamut. And then hit them with as many astral waves as possible in that 15 seconds. Now once Bahamut's disappeared, you'll get your 3 crystals. Now you summon your 3 eggies, hit them with Precious Brilliance as you've been doing up till now. Doesn't matter which order you use them in, as long as you use all 3. By the time you use all 3 of the eggies, Summon Phoenix will be available. Now the Summon Bahamut and Summon Phoenix will alternate with each other. So once you've used Bahamut, your next big summon will be Phoenix. And likewise, once you've summoned Phoenix, your next big summon will be Bahamut. And it's really that simple. It's nice and got a nice flow. So essentially you just use Bahamut, then your 3 eggies, then Phoenix, then your 3 eggies, and just repeat that process until everything's dead. And naturally use your energy drain and festers and stuff just as and when you need to. Just whenever they come off cooldown, just hit them with a lovely energy drain and fester combo. And it really is that straightforward. It's very similar to what you've been doing up to now. Now, single target wise, it's exactly the same kind of rotation, just swap the AoE versions for the single target versions. Now next up, we're going to have a look at the 80 to 90 toolkit and have a look at how all that works. Right guys, so your level 80 to 90 toolkit is incredibly simple because they're all upgrades. There seems to be a bit of a pattern here with new summoner. They're all upgrades to your existing skills. Now at level 82, you will get a trait called Outburst Mastery. Now what that will do, that will buff your Precious Brilliance move to the Catastrophe moves. Basically just a straight up damage boost. Nice and straightforward. Next up, level 84, you will get a trait called Ruin Mastery 4, which increases the potency of Ruin 3, Ruby Right, Topaz Right, and Emerald Right. Just straight up damage buff. Again, fairly straightforward. Next up, level 86, you will get Element Mastery, which is another trait. Now, what that does is that will unlock more special abilities for use with Astral Flow. So you'll get new Astral Flow ability for Ifrit, Titan and Garuda summons. They all have the uses. We'll go more into how they operate in the level 90 rotation. Now, next up, level 88, you'll get yet another trait called Enhanced Radiant Aegis. Now what that does is that will allow a second charge of your Radiant Aegis shield. So you can use that twice in quick succession should you need to. Now lastly, at level 90, you will get yet another trait called Enkindle 2. Now what Enkindle 2 does is it will upgrade your Summon Ifrit, Titan and Garuda abilities up to their second versions. Now the second versions do a lot more damage and you're actually summoning the real Titan, Garuda and Ifrit, so they look like they do in the boss fights, not the little eggy ones that you've been using so far. Straight up upgrade, they do a lot more damage, and that is your level 80 to 90 toolkit. A lot of traits in that one, basically just more upgrades to existing skills, giving you some more options. Very straightforward for summoner, very straightforward. Next up, we're going to jump straight into the level 90 rotation. To be fair, nothing major changes. The only new real addition is the use of the rest of the Astral Flow abilities, and they all work a little bit differently to each other. Right guys, so your level 90 rotation will remain pretty much exactly the same as your level 80 rotation. Same kind of flow. Everything like that, with the exception of you'll need to try and weave in your new Astral Flow abilities. Now you get a new special attack from each of your base summons, Titan, Ifrit and Garuda, and they all work slightly different. Now when you summon Ifrit, you will be granted Ifrit's Favour. Now Ifrit's Favour comes in 2 stages. The first use you'll rush the target for a Crimson Cyclone damage, and then secondly, you hit it again for Crimson Strike, which does a lot more damage. Now obviously you've got to be careful about using Ifrit's Favour, because it can and probably will get you into trouble at times if you use it at the wrong time. So it's all very situational when you use them. I'm going to back off just a little bit, and we're going to use thingy. When you summon Titan, same deal. You'll come in, do his big attack. Now his favor is granted by using Topaz Right. If you use Topaz Right, you'll be granted a Titan's stack of Titan's favor. You use that, and you'll do Mountain Buster. And again, every time you use Ruby Right while you have stacks, it will grant you one use of Mountain Buster. Now all of these extra abilities are AoE attacks, so they'll hit a lot of enemies quite quickly. And that one's very cool because you can use that. You can use both of those while you're running around dodging AoEs. Does a decent amount of damage as well. And then lastly, when you summon Garuda, she will come in, do her attack, and will grant you Garuda's favor. Now Garuda's favor is called Slipstream, and it will leave an area on the field where anything inside it will take wind damage. It does a decent amount of damage, and it will leave a lovely little zone that will do damage over time whenever someone stands in it. Now your favors, much like the order that you choose to use your summons in, will vary depending on your situation. Obviously, Ifrit's favor, you don't want to be using that when the enemy's standing in a no-go zone, or there's going to be a big AoE, things like that. It is a decent gap closer at times as well. Use it situationally. Titan's favor is fairly fair game. You can use them both while you're moving around dodging AoEs, or when you're stable standing in one spot. Very cool. I like Titans a little bit more. Now Garuda's favor, obviously it has a cast time, so you need to make sure that one, you can stand in the same spot long enough for you to cast it, and two, that the tank has the mob stable so that the damage over time field will hit as many enemies as possible for the full duration. There's nothing worse than dropping Slipstream down on an enemy for the tank to then pull the whole pack out of range of the ability and go tank somewhere else. Nothing worse. And that basically is your level 90 rotation. So that has been our look into the new version of Summoner. Hopefully I've managed to unlock some of the mystery and how it all works. Now overall, I'm pleased with the changes to the job. It feels a lot more cohesive now and is way more forgiving of mistakes. Now, Leah, you can now decide what you want to do, because next time we're going to be hanging out with Rin for the Warrior Guide. Then we're going to be starting on the expansion jobs. So thank you all for watching. If you are new here, feel free to hang out. Come check out some other stuff we've got going on. We'd love to have you here. If you're not new here, thanks for all the support. It is much appreciated. And you know what's coming by now. Please like, share, comment, subscribe and all that jazz. And as always, see you on the flip side. Bye bye.